Uh, a very good afternoon, everyone present here. I'm Mohammad Siddique on behalf of the JNU lecture series, a student-led academic initiative. Welcome you all to the sixth lecture of our ongoing series. When we ask what democracy is, we are asking a question that has echoed since the days of Aristotle, who classified forms of government and warned that democracy, when untied from virtue, could descend into demagoguery. Yet the democratic imagination evolved. With Jean-Jacques Rousseau, democracy became inseparable from the general will. With John Stuart Mill, it became linked to liberty and individuality. And in modern constitutional thought, democracy is not merely majority rule, it is the rule of law, limited by rights, structured by institutions, and sustained by civic participation. Democracy, in its most minimal sense, is government by consent, but in its richest sense, so to say, it is a moral ideal, a society in which citizens are treated as political equals. As Abraham Lincoln famously said, it is government of the people, by the people, for the people. Yet history reminds us that this promise has always been aspirational. The expansion of suffrage from propertied men to universal adult franchise was not granted, it was fought for. The civil rights movement in the United States, the anti apartheid struggle in South Africa, and the democratic transitions in Eastern Europe illustrate that democracy advances through collective courage and moral insistence. If the what of democracy concerns its definition, the why concerns its justification. Why should democracy be preferred over authoritarian alternatives that claim efficiency or stability? The answer lies in the moral status it gives to individuals. Democracy recognizes citizens not as subjects to be governed but as agents capable of reasoning, dissenting, and shaping their common future. It institutionalizes disagreement without violence. It transforms power from domination into accountability. In our own times, however, the democratic story is neither linear nor secure. Around the world, we witness democratic backsliding, erosion of institutional autonomy, the spread of misinformation, and the polarization that stains the very social fabric of our society. At the same time, new forms of participation, digital mobilization, youth movements, constitutional litigation, and grassroots activism demonstrate that democracy is not static. It is a contested and evolving project. From the Arab Spring to contemporary debates over electoral integrity and freedom of expression, democracy continues to confront both old and new challenges. This brings us to the how of democracy, how it is designed, how it is sustained, and how it is defended. Democracy does not survive on sentiment alone. It requires robust institutions, independent judiciaries, free media, accountable executives, and vigilant civil society. It demands constitutional morality and civic virtue. It depends on citizens who are willing not only to claim rights but also to shoulder responsibilities. It is precisely at this intersection of moral philosophy and institutional design that our distinguished speaker, Professor Philip Pettit, has made an extraordinary and enduring contribution. Professor Pettit, currently associated with Princeton University and Australian National University, is one of the foremost political philosophers of our times. His seminal work, Republicanism, A Theory of Freedom and Government, revitalized the new Republican tradition and introduced a powerful and compelling idea: freedom as non domination. Unlike the narrow conception of freedom as mere non interference, Professor Pettit argues that true liberty requires protection from arbitrary power To be free is not simply to be left alone. It is to live in a condition where no one holds unchecked power over you. This idea has profoundly influenced constitutional theory and democratic design. In On the People's Terms, Professor Pettit further elaborates how democratic institutions can be structured to secure freedom as non domination through checks and balances, mechanisms of public contestation, and inclusive public reasoning. For us as students of political science, Professor Pettit's writings are not distant abstractions. They are texts we read, annotate, debate, and quote in our writings. His theory of Republican freedom challenges us to rethink democracy not merely as electoral competition but as institutional order that prevents domination in both public and private spheres. Professor Pettit, because we study your work, engage with your arguments, and your ideas have shaped how we understand liberty and democracy, it is an absolute honor and privilege to be in direct conversation with you today. As we deliberate today on what, the why, and the how of democracy, we are reminded that democracy is not a finished achievement, but a fragile and ongoing endeavor. It demands intellectual clarity, moral courage, and institutional imagination. It demands, above all, citizens and scholars who are willing to question power and refine principles. With deep gratitude and great anticipation, I now invite Professor Philip Pettit to guide us through this vital conversation on democracy, its meaning, its justification, and its practical realization. Over to you, Professor Pettit.